Hello everyone, welcome to Papa's Workshop. In today's video, I am very excited. I'm going to be unboxing, assembling, and testing out the new xTool's D1 Pro. This is a fantastic laser engraver, and I can't wait to show it to you. This just arrived, and I'm super excited to be able to assemble this today. We have two books that we'll be going through. This is a beautiful color. Very well packaged. This is the laser module itself. In here we have the glasses, some zip ties, and all of the screws and the tools that we need to be able to assemble this. And it's really not that much. I have the leg extensions. So that's a nice feature that they've included with this. We're going to set this aside. This is the actual front rail. This one already has the timing belt on it and it's already tensioned. It's ready to go. So that's a really nice feature as well. Now this one we will have to tension, but there is this one basically pre-assembled. And this is going to be the rod that will connect it. And there's our little sprocket right here on the end. This is the gantry. Has all the cables already connected. The belts underneath here. Looks like it's tensioned. So that's all pre-assembled as well. We have the power. We have some lubricants, the USB cable, and this is another cable that we can use. And of course we have the cable for the power supply. So this is everything in the kit. So there's really, as you can see, not much to be able to assemble. This laser module is considerably larger than the previous model. It still has the little kickstand type of adjustment to be able to get your height, and it has already included the air assist. Having these adapter feet, I think that's going to eliminate my paint can process. So that's going to be very nice to be able to have. Remember, you can use these on this model or you can use them on the other laser as well. When you're assembling this, you can see it has this long area that's notched out compared to a very small notch on the back. That makes it very simple to be able to put together. Having this notch here makes it extremely easy to be able to know which piece goes where. And that just slides right into a perfect fit. Just going to grab the screws and put these screws in. On the back, same thing. You have a small notch to correspond to this. And all needs to happen, that will slide directly into it. Align the screw hole, and you'll be able to put that in. That is super easy and well designed. Let's take a look at these two packages. Now this has the plate that'll actually protect your work surface. And in here you have all different types of materials that we can experiment with. So we'll get to that a little bit later. You actually have two books right here. This is the instructions, and you also have a quick start guide. Of course, you're going to have all of the list of the supplies that come with it. And then we're going to go step by step on being able to assemble this machine But I can tell you this right now, it is extremely easy to be able to assemble. But full color pictures, step by step, exactly how to do it. Here's the instructions on setting up the air assist. So very detailed and very complete. And this manual right here with the instructions is written in a variety of different languages. And in here you've got some safety information, fire safety information, the different instructions of the warning signs and such that's on the machine, frequently asked questions, even explains how do I set up the tension of the timing belts. So all of that is right there. So this one is actually only 3 pages long, and then it switches over to another language. It talks about the red cross light beams. They're not in the center. We know they're not in the center. They're actually 16 millimeters off from being in the center. Now you can configure this with the Wi-Fi. That's something I have not done yet, but this will explain how to be able to set it up. Well, I'm ready to get this machine assembled. So the first step is to remove these zip ties, and just need a pair of scissors to do that. No, the scissors aren't included in this kit. Let's grab the toolbox, open it up, and we'll grab the little screwdriver that comes in the kit and all of the different screws. To assemble the frame, there are 16 screws that we're going to need. When you slide this first rail on, be very careful with these switches and these plugs. You do not want to damage them. Also on the back side, you have the circuit board that's very close. As I had said earlier, you need 16 screws. Now these are the little small screws that are in the toolbox. Because of the ingenious way that they have designed these parts to interlock together, you can put the 4 screws in loosely. Once all 4 are in, tighten them, and it will be perfectly square. There's no need to go through the squaring process as you do on other lasers. To install the rail on the other side of this front piece, I want to give you a good close-up of exactly how easy this is and how well it slides together. With this interlocking type of a process and design that they have, it gives you the perfect alignment. All you need to do then is just literally drop the screws into the hole and tighten them down. I generally like to put all 4 screws in loose at first, and that way if there's any movement that I need to have, I can make it very easily. Once all 4 screws are in, then certainly I will tighten them all down. There's no need to wait. Go ahead and tighten all 4 screws on each of the corners as you go. Now this is a habit that I have used for years on many different types of pieces of equipment, and it has served me well. So with that being said, now that I have all 4 screws loosely in, then I just simply go back and tighten them. With this last screw tightened down, I can rest assured that this corner is complete and I don't have to worry about it. I can just move on to the next corner and continue the assembly. To install this back rail is actually even easier. I can actually put both sides in at one time, and again, because of the design, it's very stable and it'll sit there. I'll grab the screws, I'll put this first screw in at the top to hold it, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. With both sides stable, at this point, I'll continue by adding the remaining 3 screws on each of the corners. Remember, there's 4 screws on each of the corners. You have 2 screws like this that's going to be in the kit that will go one right here and one over on this end. This is actually used to be able to tighten the timing belt. So you do not want to tighten these all the way. If you do, you run the risk of damaging the belt itself. So I'm just going to loosely put those in right now. And you can see this little bracket where it will slide back and forth. And that is also that you'll be able to put tension on the belts. So this screw will go into the back and it will screw into this little housing right here. Now again, I'm not tightening this. That way it still has movement, and we'll put the correct tension on it in a few minutes. The next item we're going to put in is this shaft. One of the things that I definitely recommend is take the little Allen wrench and make sure that these little set screws are tight. It's a lot easier to be able to check it now than find out that you have a problem later. Also, we'll slip this on. Now it's time to pull the belt down. Take the shaft and slide it into the belt. Put that sprocket right onto the belt, and then the tip of the shaft will go into the bearing. If this does not happen, that means the screw on the other end is too tight. Loosen that before you go any further. Once that end is properly secured in the bearing, slide this right over onto the stepper motor, and then you can tighten it down. So one of the set screws is tightening onto the stepper motor, the other set screw is tightening onto the shaft itself. Double check everything, make sure it's tight and in position, and then this step is completed. Before you tighten anything, you want to make sure that this plate and the plate on the other side are all the way down, touching this front edge. That is going to give you a perfect alignment when we put in the gantry. This edge, both of these plates now are down and touching this plate. These set screws are tight. This shaft is in place and into this bearing. The belt is around the sprocket, so that is all exactly the way it needs to be. So please verify that. That will probably save you some headaches later on. Now it's time to add this cable to this stepper motor. So we're going to plug this in right here. And then this one will plug in right here. You have 3 holes here. These are used to be able to put these ties in and secure the wire. So we have the wire positioned exactly where I want it. These zip ties are tight. I'm going to cut off the ends. So we're all done there. Let's move to the gantry now. First thing we need to do, be very careful, but we're going to remove these ties. You have a lot of cables in here, so be very careful where you cut. So now we have the cables free. The first cable that we want to plug in is this one right here, and it will plug into the stepper motor. It's time to install the gantry, and you have 4 little red marked screws to be able to do that. These screws are going to go right into these points right here and correspond to the holes, and this is the same on each side. The same rule applies. We're going to take these screws and we're going to put all 4 of them in loosely. I'm going to begin by putting one on this side, and then I'm going to move to the opposite side. It makes it a whole lot easier if the screw is holding up the other side instead of my hand. And with the first 2 screws in, then I'll just continue on and add the remaining 2 screws. And of course, I will tighten all 4 screws at this point. You have 1 remaining screw with the blue tip on it. That will slide right into this point. Again, this is so that you can put tension on the belt as required. So just loosely put this in, snug it up, but do not tighten it. These belts have already been tensioned. You have an outlet right here and right here, and this little wire will be the one that plugs into this. Take your time plugging these wires in. These are very small connectors and they're very delicate, so they need to be oriented correctly, and then plug them in and push them into position. Just don't force it. Now this wire actually is going to control the limit switches. Yes, you have limit switches on this new machine. To plug into this cable, these are all color coded, the white, yellow, and red, and that corresponds to the white, yellow, and red in here. I now have all 3 of these plugged in. And I find that it oftentimes helps to use a little pair of the needle nose pliers. Now you don't want to pinch the wires at all. You're just using them just as an extra little help, because my big fingers won't get down in there very easily to be able to help slide them on. So be very careful if you choose to use a tool like this. Again, you have 3 holes here to be able to secure this wire. This is a look with these cables all attached, and I have the cable ties in here where that runs right along this side, and it stays out of the way. Looking at the top side, you can see how these are running along the side. This cable will be out of the way also, but that's how you want to be able to route it. Then when the gantry moves, it will move smoothly right next to these wires, and that wire will not be in the way. So you have smooth movement all the way down, and this cable and these wires are clear of this steel track that the wheels are rolling on. So take your time and set this up correctly so that you won't have problems down the road with the cable being in the way. It's time to put this little L bracket in for the air assist. The hose will actually slip down into this, and it has the little teeth in there to grab the hose. I'm not attaching a hose right now. It comes with a little plug. I'm going to slip that plug in just like that. And then this needs to be threaded right into here. And be very, very careful not to strip that threading. We'll slip that in. Take your time to make sure that it starts correctly. There it goes. And I'm just going to use the pliers just to tighten it just a little bit. That should be plenty. This will point straight up, just like that. This guard right here actually is held in by these 2 screws. A little bit different than before. They no longer have the little set screws, and it's screwed in all the way through. So it's a very substantial screw that holds that. With the air assist now attached to the nozzle, I want to put this now onto the machine. Just to show you this, the output is 20 watts. This is 24 volts with 3 amps. The wavelength is the 455 plus or minus the 5. So that is one very, very nice laser. The mount is a little dovetail. You have the dovetail bracket right here, and all that needs to be done is just slide that right down. Right on this side, you can tighten it. To tighten it, you turn clockwise. To loosen it, counterclockwise, and you can move this up or down and then lock it back. The last cable that we need to plug in is this to the laser itself, and here's the connection. You also have this slot to be able to manage and control the wire. This actually slides in just like that. Then be able to plug it in. At this point, this plug has snapped in position, so that is completed. The wire is being controlled as it's designed right there. When we run the air assist hose will come out here, and then I'll tie it on with the holes over here and run it to the pump. The last step is to take this micro card and plug it in right here. The laser assembly is now completely done. When we began the assembly of this, if you'll recall, this belt was already tight, as was the belt that was on the gantry. This screw right here is a screw that actually holds the bracket tight. If you need to adjust a belt, you will need to loosen this first, and then tighten or loosen this screw. Once you have the belt properly tightened, then you will tighten this screw back and lock it in position. During the assembly of this, I was moving this bracket back and forth to put this screw in. Now that it's in place, and I have actually tightened the belt, and you can see how this belt is now tight. But I want to show you exactly how I got to this point. Make sure that this screw is loose, and then you can take and adjust the tension right here. If you want it tighter, just turn it clockwise. If you want it looser, turn it counterclockwise. Once you have the tension the same between this belt and the belt on the other side, just simply lock this back. In addition to feeling the tension on the belts and trying to get it exactly the same, the other way that I do it is pull the gantry back to the back edge and then raise this up. It should start moving at about 30 degrees and it should slowly move down. If it doesn't move at all, the belts are too tight. If it moves too fast, the belts are too loose. So this is a real good way that I have found to be able to get the proper tension on the belts. Now that we've tested the tension, we know the belts are the same. Go ahead and tighten this little lock screw back, and that way it'll hold it in place and it'll keep the belts tight. All that's left to do now is test it out. Okay, I've got the approximate location. I'm gonna go ahead and frame this, and let's take a look at making sure that we're at least close. It doesn't have to be exact. And that's actually close enough. Now you notice that the red crosshair is actually in the center, but the laser itself is moved over to the right. It's actually about 16 millimeters off center. That's okay, because the software accommodates for that, and it will engrave in the correct position. Okay, now this is the first test using the cork. Typically I'll run about 3,000 millimeters per minute and 30% power. With this new laser, I decided just to do a little experiment. I'm going to set this at 6,000 millimeters per minute and 15% power. So basically, I'm going to double the speed and cut the power in half. Let's see what happens. As this begins to engrave, I'm absolutely amazed at just how fast that this diode laser is moving. In addition to that, look at the quality. This is absolutely fantastic. There is no residue that's showing up on the cork at all. The detail is absolutely amazing. And look, 6,000 millimeters per minute at 15% power. This is absolutely awesome. So I am extremely impressed. I want to zoom in real close to let you see that. The results of this is absolutely gorgeous. Not only did it do this in twice the speed, half the power, but the results are actually better than the other lasers that I have. So this is my new favorite laser for sure. Now I want to do the same thing with the slate. Now change the height because this is thicker material, and I want to see how it does on the slate. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to double the speed and cut the power in half on what I normally do the slate tiles. Now one of the things I should have done is actually mark the table, and that way I wouldn't have to frame it, but I didn't do that. So as a result of that, I'm just going to hit the frame and make the adjustments. It only took some minor adjustments to get it just right. So now I want to go into the computer. I'm going to load the slate information and then make that change. We're going to double the speed, cut the power in half. Normally when I do the slate tiles, I run about 1,270 millimeters per minute with 50% power. So in that case, I'm going to kick the speed up. Let's just say we're going to run this at 1600 millimeters per minute and 25% power. After seeing just how great of a job it did on this cork, I can't wait to see the results on the slate. This is a real game changer. To be able to double the speed and cut the power in half and get this kind of results is absolutely phenomenal. Keep in mind also, there's no air assist, and this is super clean. There is no residue that's all over this cork. Again, the results look absolutely amazing. So very, very impressed with this laser. It is doing an absolutely fantastic job. Now again, this is twice the speed and half the power on what I normally use. This new laser by xTool, the D1 Pro, this is a game changer. I absolutely love it. To be able to get the jobs done with half the power and twice the speed is remarkable, and I absolutely love that. The productivity that I'll be able to accomplish in the shop will be outstanding. Literally being able to double the production and have less power on the laser is something that is great to have, because that'll in essence make the laser last longer as well. Now in the next video that I do on this laser, I want to be able to include the air assist and be able to cut some materials. Currently, I don't have an air assist for the xTool, but I'm going to get one. And when I have that in place, I'll do a video on cutting some material. So please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification so you won't miss out on that video along with many others that I'm producing. Until next time, bye-bye.